This is the Sailing World on Water, January 15, 2021. Well, it's Prada Cup Eve, and the press conference has happened. All three teams say that they have all made big changes since their first races and promise a great series. The skiff boys from the defending club are treating their 75-footer like it's a 49er and have rolled it in again. They couldn't have broken much, as they were out again the next day. The Burling-Ashley combination sure takes the boat to another level, and all accounts are, they have more in their saddlebags. The huge French Foiling Trimaran, Edmund De Rothschild, is once again headed out to break the records of the Trophy Jules Verne. We wish them better weather patterns than those experienced by the big Vondee Globe fleet. Boris Hermann on day 64, in Sea Exchange Yacht Club de Monaco, gives his Week 9 review. Ehman of Sailing Illustrated had his statistician Clarke Chapin do a chart on who would have won the race yesterday, with the time redress applied to their times. And the winner is? In all this French offshore racing, one face is missing. Armel Leclerc is busy building a new, huge foiling 32-meter maxi trimaran, to break many sailing time records. What a weapon! We look at Richard Gladwell, editor New Zealand of Sail-World.com's preview of the Prada Cup. The RORC's transatlantic race got off this week, and the highly fancied new yacht, Black Pearl, had to retire and return the Lanzarote. The RORC Caribbean 600 was also cancelled for 2021, and the Fastnet races, 400 boat entry level, was reached in 60 minutes. The finish of this race is in France. And the Melges 15 class fleet had their winter series in Sarasota, Florida.
Yeah, so we're just sailing downwind against Ineos and went through a jibe, and I don't know whether we had a control problem or exactly what happened, but yeah, we sort of leaned over a lot more than normal and lifted up out of the water, and over she went. We've talked about this a lot, practiced it. Boat's upright, we'll just check systems and that and should be ready to sail again.
And we definitely got a little bit too high in the jibe and yeah, stopped pretty quick. It's a pretty big load case on the boat when the bow hit, so we just wanted to do some checks, and but everything functionally was working pretty well on the boat, so we just towed on the foil on the way in, chatting on the way in there with the guys that that same kind of manoeuvre in the Cat in Bermuda, you'd be in hundreds of pieces, where I think it's full credit to the design of these boats that they're still in one piece.
Obviously the Capsize wasn't ideal, but it's a fantastic opportunity to really push ourselves and push the boat hard against an opponent. And Ben and the British guys did a fantastic job today. They started extremely well, and they were excellent opponents for us around the track. So hats off to those guys. Pretty exciting yachting, and one of those ones that I think at the end of the day everyone's really enjoying the practice. So those guys race pretty soon, and they'll be really ready to get into it.
Très bien, mais bon, c'est déjà très bien depuis un bon moment. C'est l'Atlantique Sud, on va dire, c'est du taf là.
Début. Passage de la ligne dans la nuit entre 2 et 4 heures du matin.
Globalement, on est super content d'avoir une opportunité météo pour pouvoir aller vivre notre rêve, notre aventure.
On n'a jamais été aussi bien prêt, tout dans le détail.
Oh, il fallait partir. C'était long comme le sandal.
téléphone, à bientôt les gars. The alarm beeps for the batteries, and I'm too high speeds to put down the hydro generator, so I start the engine, and it works for like 20 seconds, and then it stops charging, and the alarm goes off again. And in this whole situation, I got hit by a 37 knot gust and nose diving, and all the stuff flying forward onto me. Big wave, look, so. Woo. What's up, man? Doing a repair job there. You see it's white. Come up on the boom, it looks impressive. Like, damn it, can't put my mainsail. I damaged the jibe when I took a reef. Reef 3, the battens got under the shrouds and got started flapping and so. Another slap in my face a bit, but it puts up my my fighting spirit. I will never give up.
Back in the lead, Charlie Dallin from France on his yacht Apivia. Bravo Zulu to him. Now here is the promised chart by Clarke Chapin. And maybe I will go to camera 4 for this one. In the first column, you can see the skippers' names and their original, meaning their current standing. And they're listed in order of their current standing. And Yashka, of course, retired a few days ago, sadly. Here is the redress after the redress is granted. Now, the way Clarke, so you can see, for example, Lecombe's now in first place. He moves up 8 places. This is the delta. Dallin drops to third. Bestaven stays at second after these are the guys in red are the ones granted redress. Hermann goes from 6th to 4th. Lecombe goes fully from 9th to 1st. If the race were to finish right now based on their current VMGs. Mm-hmm. So put what Clarke has done, Clarke Chapin, who's an engineer and a retired engineer from General Motors and one of the brightest guys on here, no doubt. And he loves to do this stuff. And I then gave him hell the other day because he sent me graphs and stuff. It was so complicated that even a Stanford graduate like Julia probably couldn't understand it, let alone
I just believed him.
Simple country boy from Michigan. I said, Clarke, make it simple. So he produced this chart. It's very simple. If you take the current standings, where they are, and you draw a finish line at the lead boat. Okay, you got to do a little bit of it, by guess and by gosh. And then use the current VMGs of the yachts behind the current leader. This is where they would end up at that finish line. Now, there's a lot of race ahead, but it's interesting to note that given the current situation, current conditions, current speeds, Jean Lecombe, the hero, would go from 9th to 1st based on the redress and it's a time redress. So all Clarke can do is figure the time that would elapse at his current velocity made good to this supposed finish line or virtual finish line. Clever stuff, Clarke. Thank you.
Indeed.
And just another indication of how close this race really is. It's even closer than you think.
Yeah.
When the guy in 9th place can move up 8 places to 1st just on the redress that's already been granted.
Aujourd'hui, ce qui est satisfaisant, c'est qu'on a un bateau qui ressemble à un trimaran. On a 3 coques, donc l'assemblage général, on va dire, La partie structurelle est en place. On est à 5 mois de la mise à l'eau. Et maintenant, on va pouvoir commencer vraiment les finitions intérieures, c'est-à-dire monter tout le puzzle de l'accastillage à la mécanique, à l'hydraulique, à l'électronique. Aujourd'hui, on a une grosse partie de techniciens spécialistes en composite qui travaillent dans notre hangar pour fabriquer beaucoup de pièces que nous faisons en interne et qui vont être assemblées ici donc, au hangar CDK. On a déjà quelques-uns qui travaillent comme ça pour assembler certaines pièces, mais la grande majorité de l'équipe va arriver ici et on va dire que voilà, la fourmilière va se mettre en place. Toutes les pièces sont quasiment arrivées ici à Lorient au hangar. Et maintenant, c'est plus qu'une question de pouvoir accéder à cette plateforme. On attend quand même que la partie composite soit vraiment terminée pour pouvoir travailler dans de bonnes conditions, notamment sur la partie ergonomie de la zone de travail, donc le cockpit et la zone de vie. Donc là, bien sûr, il sera important pour moi d'être disponible pour l'équipe s'il y a telle ou telle question en fonction de, voilà, de mon gabarit, de ma façon de naviguer, de ma façon de voir les choses. On essaie de voir énormément de choses en 3 dimensions sur écran, sur ordinateur, mais c'est toujours plus concret, bien sûr, quand on voit le bateau grandir et quand on peut enfin voir comment ça va se mettre en pratique. Donc il y aura encore une petite phase d'adaptation, même si on est quand même assez proche de la réalité. Voilà, on sait qu'à 95%, on devrait quand même être dans le vrai. Il est magnifique, c'est un super bateau, c'est le fruit de travail de presque 2 ans avec voilà, le timon populaire, les ingénieurs, le cabinet, les architectes et le chantier CDK. On a hâte d'aller naviguer dessus. On sait qu'il va falloir encore un peu patienter parce que voilà, ces semaines à venir vont être très denses. Mais dès le printemps prochain, voilà, on sera sur l'eau et on a hâte de retrouver voilà, les joies de naviguer sur ces grands ultimes qui sont les plus beaux bateaux du monde.
Our Prada Cup report is from Richard Gladwell, editor, sail-world.nz. Ben Ainsley and friends will be sleeping a lot easier tonight in Auckland, after a solid performance on the 2 days of practice racing, ahead of the start of the Prada Cup on Friday. After a nightmare regatta in the America's Cup World Series, in mid-December, Ineos Team UK got a flogging from the armchair experts, most of whom have never seen an AC-75 sailing other than on video. It was easy to focus on the obvious, the stickiness of Britannia 2 in light winds, and some reliability issues on the first day of the 3-day ACWS. The Christmas Cup wasn't much better, with the only race exceeding its time limit as the Brits were up the Kiwis' transom, but a lap behind Emirates Team New Zealand. After 2 days of practice racing, there is no doubt that the British have lifted their game. Although denied for 3 weeks, the series was initiated only last Friday, by a decision of the arbitration panel, the judicial body for the regatta following American Magic's concern over issues with the race management system. It is the final practice for the Prada Cup, a 6-week series to select a team to challenge America's Cup holder Emirates Team New Zealand, in the 36th match for the most prestigious trophy in sailing, which gets underway on Friday. It is also the last racing with another AC-75 that Emirates Team New Zealand will enjoy until the America's Cup match on March 6th. The short notice given for the practice racing means that not too much can be read into the 4 teams' relative performances. It is likely that the 3 challengers could have some developments to be implemented and tested in the days that were taken for practice racing. Today the British were up against Italy's Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli in a series of 5 scheduled practice sessions comprising a practice start, and a 1-lap windward-leeward, a start, and 2 windward-leewards, another practice start, and finishing with a start and a 2-lapper. The second pairing saw American Magic pitched against Emirates Team New Zealand. The windward-leewards also begged the question as to whether they were being sailed at race pace, or just enough to maintain contact. On occasions we saw one boat get a significant advantage, only to back off, waiting for their opponent to close the gap, and then starting racing going again. Today's head-turning moment again belonged to Emirates Team New Zealand, who won the same award yesterday with their flop dive/capsize. Today it was the sound of grinder, the pneumatic kind, starting up between races, as the Kiwis cut into a piece of carbon sheet, to effect a minor repair between races. The report card for the 2 days looks something like this. Luna Rossa, a good all-round performance. Only tested against American Magic on Monday and Ineos Team UK on Tuesday and didn't compete against Emirates Team New Zealand. Always looked consistently fast. Few handling errors noticed. Of the 4 teams, Luna Rossa is the one that seems to touch down the most. Could probably improve their flight control. The jury is still out on whether their two helmsmen is a must-do for all the teams, or if it is a way for the Italians to work around the fact that they have two talented helmsmen, in Jimmy Spithill and Francesco Bruni, and don't want to have to decide the better of the two. But it is surprising that the Kiwi bookies have Luna Rossa behind American Magic to be the winner of the Prada Cup. Ben Ainslie and friends will be sleeping a lot easier tonight in Auckland, after a solid performance on the 2 days of practice racing, ahead of the start of the Prada Cup on Friday. After a nightmare regatta in the America's Cup World Series, in mid-December, Ineos Team UK got a flogging from the armchair experts, most of whom have never seen an AC-75 sailing other than on video. It was easy to focus on the obvious, the stickiness of Britannia 2 in light winds, and some reliability issues on the first day of the 3-day ACWS. The Christmas Cup wasn't much better, with the only race exceeding its time limit as the Brits were up the Kiwis' transom, but a lap behind Emirates Team New Zealand. After 2 days of practice racing, there is no doubt that the British have lifted their game. Although denied for 3 weeks, the series was initiated only last Friday, by a decision of the arbitration panel, the judicial body for the regatta following American Magic's concern over issues with the race management system. It is the final practice for the Prada Cup, a 6-week series to select a team to challenge America's Cup holder Emirates Team New Zealand, in the 36th match for the most prestigious trophy in sailing, which gets underway on Friday. It is also the last racing with another AC-75 that Emirates Team New Zealand will enjoy until the America's Cup match on March 6th. Emirates Team New Zealand. The Kiwis definitely have a fifth gear, afterburner, whatever, that can be turned on when required. It would seem that their speed has been reined in for much of their sailing, and when unleashed, there is no answer. They seem to be able to use this speed to get themselves out of very awkward situations, including sailing at a very high angle, in mark-rounding situations, at will. We saw it yesterday against the Brits, and again today against American Magic. Come the Cup, they will need all the speed they can muster, as the challenges should improve significantly, with hard racing over 6 weeks. Their third capsize is some concern, however the data will be useful in the simulator, and should enable some solutions to be worked through. They may need to learn when to back off a little. The Kiwi fans and media critics will have to get used to the idea that Burling and friends don't have to win every start. Their first day of the Cup might not be that great, but through the middle, they are fine, and can usually bring it all together, without too much fuss at the end. The team and crew are on their second Cup campaign, which will work for them when they come under pressure, near and during the match. The Olympic squad core of the crew are well used to pressure sailing. Having a crew loaded with flair and bravado is a big asset for any team, but it is also a weakness, and a key test will be to develop a wise head on young shoulders, and being able to sail within the capabilities that the crew can deliver. While pushing and finding the limits is what practice racing is all about, staying within those limits is what racecraft is all about. How many times in rugby or league do we see a player push a flip pass to a support team member, only to have a sharp-eyed opponent snatch an intercept and score at the other end? In Bermuda, the Kiwis were notable for the patience they exhibited when behind in tight racing, making their speed move when the passing lane opened up. This brilliance will return for the 36th match, and what has been seen in training won't be repeated come the America's Cup match, where there will be plenty of opportunity to unleash the speed advantage, currently held by Emirates Team New Zealand.
The original Black Pearl was a Soto 40, which we had a great bunch of fun on. But Stefan was always into the adventure of things. So while he cut his teeth in Soto and enjoyed it and made great leaps and bounds, he saw more value in offshore racing because you go somewhere, for 3 days off work, you're getting 3 days of sailing, not 3 hours times 3 days, Yeah. So we got the 47 with the view of doing offshore racing, but we wanted a boat quickly, and so we got that boat. There was a series built, so we could get it pretty quickly within 3 months. But it was an inshore boat, But we knew that we offshored it as best we can, and we raced it for quite some time, So we put it out. We had 5 years worth of data, which we knew the wind angles we needed, the wind speeds we needed. And we put it out to a few key designers for proposals. And they all came back. They were all excellent. You know, there was definitely no standout. But boating being the flavour of the month in that size boat, and the fact that Highland Fling had just been built, so the tooling was available. And we went to King Marine, and King Marine's a fantastic facility. And Stefan just loved the facility, so it was kind of everything pointed towards King Marine. So we pulled the trigger on an offshore boat and worked very closely with Adolpha from Boating. We had Mickey Costa project managing it for us, and myself, and then our crew were very heavily involved. You know, we knew exactly what we wanted. So Boating did the lines. I say Boating, Adolpha, the company did the lines, and we pretty much did the deck and interior based on what we wanted. And the number one consideration for the boat was, it's an offshore boat. We want waterproofing, waterproofing, waterproofing.
The IRC 56 Black Pearl, sailed by Stefan Jentsch, contacted the RORC race management team at 11:30 UTC on 10th January to report that Black Pearl is retiring from the race and heading back to Lanzarote. All are well on board. Black Pearl was approximately 20 miles west of the island of El Hierro, some 250 miles from Lanzarote. The RORC race team in Marina Puerto Calero will be standing by should Black Pearl require any assistance. At 1,200 UTC on the second day of the RORC transatlantic race, the leading boats had left the Canary Islands behind and were at full pace, blasting into the open seas of the Atlantic Ocean. It will be many days before the sailors see land once more. Oren Natoff's multi-50 trimaran, Rayon Vert, skippered by Alex Pella, is leading the fleet, having raced 350 nautical miles in the first 24 hours. Johannes Schwartz's Volvo 70, Green Dragon, is second on the water, sailing close to the rum line, placing the Austrian Volvo 70 just 5 miles behind the multi-hull. Olivier Meger's Class 40, Palinade 3, has fully lit the blue touch paper, reveling in the ideal conditions and wind angle for a Class 40. A ballistic 340 nautical miles in 24 hours has put the French team 30 miles ahead of Antoine Carpentier's Class 40, Redman. We have seen between 20 to 30 knots of wind with waves up to 3 meters. It is a wet and bumpy ride with the sea state on the nose, commented Luc Barry on board Palinade 3. Antoine Carpentier's Redman was counting the cost of falling into a wind hole last night. We were less than a mile behind Palinade when that friendly cloud gave us a big hug, commented Carpentier. It was more than an hour before the cloud stopped the embrace. It was horrible to watch our AIS and see Palinade disappear. Racing under IRC, 2 Corinthian teams have been reporting big conditions on the first night. Tim Knight racing two-handed aboard his Pogo 12.50 Kai with his wife Mayumi, reported horrible seas of Tenerife. There has been a culinary disaster for Sébastien Saunier, racing two-handed on Sun Fast 3300, Moshi Moshi, with Christophe Affolter. The boat has so much mess, commented Sébastien. We have been airborne so much, there was minestrone soup everywhere.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. Well, the area is great. You can't have a better location than this.
When I heard it was here, I was like, okay, we'll go.
That's pretty cool to sort of step into a boat and then win. After a couple days.
It's a really good fleet and we had a lot of fun.
I didn't anticipate this would be, as adrenaline filled as it is. It is so fun racing these boats. It's really cool when you get kind of in close quarters at the start. Everybody's kind of barking and finding their position in line. And it's really intense. It's super fun.
I'd say it's super fun boat.
Yeah, we love the downwind.
Downwinds are so much fun. Upwinds, the boat handles really well. And yeah, I mean, it's great.
It flies. It goes so much faster than I had anticipated. The breeze was up yesterday, and we were just flying around.
It was still windy, but we were comfortable on the boat, and like nothing was out of control.
The downwinds are so fast. They're so fast. It's really nice.
Oh, I was very surprised how stable the boat was. Very surprised. Because, I mean, you expect a monohull with an asymmetrical kite and a big sail to be a little bit sketchy going downwind, but it was super nice. The bow comes up, it doesn't stuff easily. It's stable through the jibes, everything.
And then yesterday racing was really fun too once I figured out how to do the kite.
Yeah, it doesn't have a huge learning curve like a lot of these other boats that go really fast. It's pretty easy to get the hang of it.
And it's almost less complicated in a way. There's a lot less ropes. It's more simple.
It's so cool how there's little kids and there's parents, you know, parent-kid and
husbands and wives out here.
And this is our first non-youth regatta.
Yep. The age range is super fun to sail.
I'm racing with a kid in college. It's everything out
so
here.
it's a really pretty friendly, awesome mix, it feels like.
Yeah. Guys that have been sailing their whole lives. They bought this boat this year, and then I was in the boat for the first time yesterday.
Can we bring this to college?
See our Vondee Globe reports on youtube.com/world on water, or our website, boatson.tv.